Every man who's ever been ghosted, disrespected, or quietly downgraded knows this truth, even if it stings. Women don't lose interest because you're not good enough. They lose interest because you've stopped being solid. You let things slide. You tried to keep the peace. You got soft where you should have stood firm. And that, my friend, is where respect dies not with a bang, but with a slow leak. But here's the thing. You don't get respect by demanding it. You get it by drawing the damn line and holding it calmly, consistently, without flinching. That's the kind of man she remembers. The one who didn't fold. Didn't chase, didn't tolerate emotional nonsense just to keep her around. So, if you're tired of feeling like you're on trial in your own relationship, this one's for you. We're breaking down the 5 unshakable boundaries that make a woman stop testing you and start respecting you, not with fear. If you're done being the nice guy who finishes confused, hit like, share this with your brothers, and subscribe right now. Because respect isn't given, it's earned in silence. Let's get to work. Number 1. Never reward disrespect. Every man at some point in his life reaches a quiet crossroads. It's rarely dramatic. It doesn't come with flashing red lights or a loud confrontation. No, it comes in silence. In the moment he chooses to accept something that violates his integrity just to keep the peace. It could be as subtle as ignoring the condescending tone she uses in front of others, or laughing when she makes a dismissive comment about your work in a family setting, and you tell yourself it's nothing because you don't want to create tension. But in that moment, something deeper happens. You don't just avoid conflict. You trade a piece of your self-respect for temporary comfort. And that transaction never goes unnoticed. She may not say it out loud, but she feels it. She sees the man who once had backbone start to lean. An admiration, that sacred foundation of long-term attraction, begins to erode. Not because you changed who you are, but because you stopped defending it. It's not that she wants you to fight. It's that she wants to know you won't fold. And folding doesn't mean losing your temper. It means staying silent when your values are challenged. Many men confuse Stoicism with passivity. But true Stoicism, the kind Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus spoke isn't about silence. It's about alignment. It's about choosing to act not from emotion, but from principle. Stoic strength is calm, but not complacent. It holds the line without needing to shout. It says, "This is who I am. This is what I accept. This is where I stand." Let me give you a real story. A retired military officer, 62 years old, once shared how his 30-year marriage quietly withered. Not because he cheated, not because she changed, but because over time he stopped standing up for himself. He let the sarcasm slide. He allowed the dismissals. He became easy to predict, easy to mold, and eventually, she stopped respecting him. She said, "You stopped being the man I married." And he realized too late that he hadn't lost her love. He had lost her respect, her far more difficult thing to rebuild. And the science backs this up. Studies in relational psychology show that one of the top reasons women emotionally check out is the absence of perceived strength. Not physical strength, but consistency, decisiveness, emotional leadership. When you fail to assert healthy boundaries, you unconsciously signal that your standards are flexible. And nothing corrodes intimacy faster than that. Disrespect doesn't always come wearing steel-toed boots. Comes in slippers, a subtle disregard here, a passive-aggressive sigh there. And before long, the house you built together has rotten the foundation. She starts to test you more, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she wants to feel your frame again. She wants to know you're still there, still solid. And every time you dismiss those tests, you don't just fail her.
Oh.
You fail yourself. So, here's the solution, and it doesn't start with her. It starts with you. When something feels wrong, say not with anger, not with sarcasm, with steady, calm clarity. If it happens again, don't argue. Remove your energy. That doesn't mean abandon her. It means prioritize your center. It means reminding her and yourself that you are a man who honors his values even when it's inconvenient. That kind of man doesn't have to ask respect. His presence commands it. Remember, the moment you tolerate what diminishes you, you begin teaching the world how to forget your value. The moment you hold your line, you begin teaching them how to remember it. And the man who is remembered for his dignity is the one who never had to scream it out loud. He just lived it and let the silence speak for him. Number 2, guard your peace. Did you know that men over 50 are at the highest risk of chronic stress-related illness? Not because of physical labor, but because of emotional exhaustion? It's not just the job, the bills, or the pressure of providing. It's the slow erosion of internal peace that no one sees until it's already taken root. Because peace, contrary to popular belief, isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of discipline. It's not what happens when things go right. It's what remains when things fall apart. And for many men, peace is the one thing they never learned how to protect. You don't stumble into peace. You build it deliberately. You guard it ruthlessly. Because a man without peace is a man who reacts to everything. He over-explains to people who don't listen. He overcommits to people who wouldn't lift a finger for him. He apologizes for setting boundaries, for being tired, for wanting space. He performs like a puppet for a crowd that won't remember his name by next week. And what he gets in return isn't respect, it's dependence. He becomes the emotional workhorse for others while neglecting the fortress of his own mind. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology confirmed it. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor surrounded by betrayal and chaos, wrote not about war strategies but about guarding the mind. He reminded himself daily that the mind must stand unmoved, like a rock against the waves. The man who seeks external peace without building inner order will always fail. Because peace isn't passive. It's not what's left over when you remove stress. It's what you actively choose when stress knocks on your door. But here's the tragedy. Most men leak peace through tiny fractures in their character. Every time they smile at a cruel remark to avoid conflict, every time they respond to a disrespectful message out of guilt, every time they go along with plans that deplete them just to keep the peace, they chip away at their own foundation. And eventually there's nothing left but the shell of someone who used to have standards. That's not kindness. That's self-abandonment. When you protect your peace, you become unavailable to chaos. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop hoping people will suddenly treat you better if you just give more. You start filtering your energy the way a wise man filters water. Only the clean gets in. Peaceful men aren't passive. They're precise. They speak less, but every word has weight. They move slower, but with direction. And when they say no, it isn't loud, it's final. And women? They sense this instantly. They know when your time is cheap, when your mind is busy, when your emotions are porous. They may enjoy your generosity, your availability, your emotional flexibility, but they never respect it. Because the feminine energy doesn't admire a man who can be emotionally led. It seeks the one who leads himself not with dominance, but with direction. A man who doesn't crumble when affection is withheld, who doesn't trade his dignity for another chance. Peace is your edge. Without it, everything slips. Your posture weakens. Your voice loses conviction. Your eyes scan for approval instead of scanning the horizon. You don't need more motivation. You need subtraction. Remove what poisons your peace. That may be a relationship. That may be a routine. That may even be your own addiction to proving your worth. Strip it down. Let silence speak. Let stillness become your rhythm. This isn't about becoming indifferent. It's about becoming untouchable, the kind of untouchable that isn't cold, but rooted. So that when disrespect tests you, your answer is silence. When chaos knocks, your answer is structure. And when love shows up, it finds you already whole. Guard your peace not just for yourself, but for the man you're still becoming. Because if you don't, no one else will. Number 3, don't share too much. There's a part of you she should never fully see, not because you are hiding, but because mystery breathes life into connection. Women don't actually want full access. What they crave is depth, not a tour of the basement. When you give too much too soon, every wound, every fear, you don't bond, you burden. You move from being her desire to being her project. And no woman dreams of fixing the man she wants to lean on. Modern culture has confused openness with emotional spill, but being honest doesn't mean being unfiltered. A man with emotional discipline knows when to speak and when to let silence work. You're not cold, you're composed. You're not detached, you're discerning. Because strength isn't pouring your heart out at every impulse. It's being able to hold what's heavy without bleeding all over someone else's hands. When you reveal your pain too early, you shift her emotional role. She stops seeing you as a man to lean into and starts feeling responsible for your stability. Her feminine instinct recoils not out of cruelty, but because she's looking for strength, not another emotional weight to carry. She doesn't want a man who collapses into her arms every time he's shaken. She wants one who rises from his pain, holds his ground, and reveals himself slowly, like earned trust. This is why Stoicism matters. It teaches that your emotions are yours to manage, not the world's to carry. That vulnerability isn't the full story. Strategic revelation. You open with intention. You share without surrendering your masculine core. And in doing so, you become rare. You stop seeking connection through confession. You create it through consistency. So, speak with purpose. Let mystery breathe. Don't explain your soul to those who haven't earned the silence it takes to hear it. And remember, what makes you magnetic isn't how much you expose, but how much you integrate quietly. The less you spill, the more they lean in. The more you anchor yourself, the more she feels safe to soften. In a world of oversharing and emotional chaos, be the man who stands still, steady, and sovereign. That's not repression. It's respect for yourself and for the sacred space true connection requires. Number 4. No emotional reactivity. Mastery doesn't mean detachment from emotion. It means discipline within it. It's not that you don't feel the weight of disappointment, rejection, or judgment. It's that you no longer let those feelings steer the direction of your life. True control isn't about suppression. It's about awareness. It's knowing that while emotion may rise like a storm, you are not the storm. You are the shoreline it crashes against. Most men are conditioned to react. A snide remark from a partner, a dismissive comment from a colleague, or even the simple feeling of being ignored, can send them spiraling into defensiveness or retreat. That isn't strength. Surrender, subtle, quiet, and dangerously familiar. It's the slow erosion of a man's inner authority. And once you've given others the power to decide your emotional state, you've abandoned the throne of your own life. Emotional reactivity is the death of masculine presence. When others can dictate your energy with their behavior, you've ceased to lead yourself. The Stoics warned against this. They didn't preach indifference, but invulnerability, an internal fortress where clarity sits at the center and chaos knocks without entry. If you find yourself chasing explanations, needing to correct every misunderstanding, flinching at the slightest emotional shift in someone else, that's the sign you've been moved off center. The solution isn't rage. It isn't silence used as a weapon. It's that inner pause, the space between what is said to you and how you respond. That pause is where your strength lives. It's where emotional sovereignty is cultivated. It's not about denying the rise of anger or the sting of disrespect. It's about witnessing it, letting it pass through, and responding in a way that aligns with who you are, not what they triggered. This kind of calm can't be manufactured. It has to be built. You must confront your need to be liked, your fear of being misunderstood, your discomfort with silence. Because until you do, anyone with a strong enough opinion can pull you out of yourself. And that's not masculinity. It's fragility, dressed in performance. When you master your reactivity, something powerful happens. People sense it. The woman testing your boundaries no longer sees someone to mold. She sees someone to trust. Friends who thrived on chaos drift away. Environments that demanded your energy but gave nothing in return fall off naturally. And what's left is space clean. Quiet space where only clarity lives. You speak less, but every word matters. You move less, but each step is deliberate. You stop explaining yourself because your existence, your choices, your standards no longer require external permission. And the beauty of it all? You don't need to announce this shift. Those who are aligned will recognize it. Those who aren't will remove themselves. You become unmoved, and not because you've hardened, but because you've deepened. That's what Stoicism offers. Not a mask, but a method. Not armor, but architecture. In this stage of life, emotional reactivity is the luxury of the young. You've seen enough, lost enough, and carried enough to know that your peace is not up for auction. It's your compass. And if you can hold to it, no matter who pulls, no matter what stings, you'll remain exactly where power is, right where you stand. Number 5, always be willing to walk away. There comes a point when staying becomes more dangerous than leaving, but not in the way most people imagine. Not with fireworks or ultimatums, but with slow erosion, a quiet collapse. You keep telling yourself, it's just a phase. It'll get better. It's not that bad. And so, day by day, piece by piece, you trade your fire for familiarity. That's how it happens. Not with a decision, but with delay. And most men, they stay. They stay in relationships that shrink them. They stay in jobs that hollow them. They stay in circles where they laugh, but never feel seen. Not because they're weak, but because the unknown terrifies them more than the ache they already know. Familiar pain becomes a comfort drug, numbing them from the truth they refuse to speak aloud. This is killing something in me. I knew a man like that. James, 54, been in the same marriage for 30 years, same job for 22. From the outside, respectable, stable. But when he talked about his life, his voice had no pulse. He once said to me, "I don't remember the last time I made a decision that was mine." That sentence still haunts me, not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. James had mastered endurance but forgotten how to feel alive. That's the tragedy of staying too long. You become numb to yourself. And no one teaches you how to recognize that erosion. No one celebrates the man who walks away quietly, not from failure, but from misalignment. But the Stoics would. They taught that to live with virtue is to live in agreement with your nature. And anything that constantly violates your peace, your values, your dignity, that is not virtuous. That is not strength. That is bondage with a smile. Walking away doesn't make you selfish. It makes you sovereign. A man who leaves because something no longer aligns isn't abandoning responsibility. He's reclaiming it. Women can feel this too. They can tell if you're staying because you're afraid to be alone or because you genuinely choose the relationship. One commands respect. The other invites testing. When you finally walk, not in anger, but in clarity, you send a silent message to the world. I am not available for what dishonors me. And it changes everything. The right people stop testing your worth. The wrong ones fade out on their own. Life recalibrates around the standard you now embody. It's not about storming out. It's about walking out with calm, no threats, no noise, just movement, rooted in self-respect. And the world will respond, maybe not immediately, maybe not with applause, but eventually with alignment. The people, places, and purposes that meet you where you truly are will begin to appear. But only after you leave what's been holding you back. So ask yourself, where have you stayed too long? What have you excused again and again, hoping it would fix itself while slowly compromising who you are? Your soul already knows the answer. You don't need permission to walk. You need the courage to trust the silence after you do. Because once you've made that decision, once you've walked toward integrity rather than staying for convenience, you'll look back and realize something profound. The pain of staying was never a sign of love. It was a signal that something sacred inside you was being ignored. Don't ignore it any longer. Let the man who stays for truth, not for comfort, be the man who wakes up every morning knowing he didn't betray himself. That's the man worth becoming. That's the man who leads. And sometimes the first step in leading is learning to leave. If you've made it this far, you're not like most men. You're not here for tricks or applause. You're here because something in you, maybe tired, maybe quiet, but still alive, knows you were meant to be respected, not tolerated. And let's be clear, women don't respect the man who bends at every emotional gust. They respect the one who draws the line and actually keeps it, the one who walks away calmly when his peace is on the line. So, if this hits somewhere real, don't just nod and scroll. Let it mark the start of something. Like the video, share it with a brother who's been shrinking to keep the peace. And type this below. I choose respect over approval. Because when you do that, you're not just supporting this channel. You're becoming part of a movement, one that's reminding men everywhere that real power doesn't beg, it stands. And if you haven't yet, subscribe now. We've got more coming. More truth, more clarity, more ways to walk like the man you were born to be. Stay sharp, stay grounded, and remember, boundaries aren't walls. They're doors to the life you actually deserve.